The war room was full of laughter. Alien commanders sat in a dark chamber staring at old human war recordings. Dusty battles, outdated tanks, loud, messy infantry charges. One general pointed at the screen and said, "Look at them." They ran, straight into fire. No formation, no planning, just chaos. Another added, "Their tactics are a joke. They barely had spaceflight a few hundred years ago. Their weapons? Weak. Their minds? Slower. We won't even need strategy." The others agreed. The humans were small, emotional, and unprepared. Their old war footage looked like children playing war. But one alien didn't laugh. He was younger, quieter, and sat at the edge of the room. He didn't watch the humans running into battle. He watched something else. How they moved just before the enemy fired. How they used broken ships as shields. How they always seemed to survive. Even when they lost, he leaned closer. Something felt strange. The main general noticed him. "What's wrong, Junior? Afraid the little humans will bite?" The room laughed again, but the young officer replied calmly, "Sir, these losses, they don't feel like accidents. They feel designed." The room went silent for a second, then burst into louder laughter. "Designed to die? That's all they're good at," a commander shouted. The meeting ended. Orders were given. The next human contact would be crushed in one strike. No need for backup. No need for planning. It would be a message to the galaxy. 3 days later, a human supply convoy moved slowly across a quiet system. Just 3 small ships. No weapons. Active. Shields low. The alien fleet dropped out of warp. 20 ships. Heavy weapons. Shields at full. They circled the humans like sharks. The lead alien commander grinned and opened a channel. "Surrender, Earth vessels. You are surrounded." No answer. He waited. Still nothing. Then, the human ships moved. Not fast, not random. Very slowly they shifted their positions, almost like they were guiding the aliens into a certain shape, a strange triangle. The alien commander frowned. "Ignore it. Open fire." Blasts lit up the void. The 3 human ships exploded. The aliens cheered. But then, it began. From behind a dead moon, 6 more human ships decloaked. Not large, not powerful, but exactly in position. They launched something small. Pods, not weapons, not missiles. Beacons. The alien ships were scanned, tagged, and mapped in seconds. Every move, every weakness, every shield frequency. Before they could react, the human ships vanished. No counterattack, no warning. Just silence. Back in the war room, the High Command replayed the battle. "Why didn't they fight back?" one asked. "Why waste ships just to run scans?" said another. The young officer spoke again. "It was never about this battle. It was about the next one. They let us win so they could watch us celebrate. Now they know everything." A chill ran through the room. He opened an old human file he found in archives. It was a military training. Daniels, a dusty document titled, "Tactics for the Losing Side." He read a line aloud. "If they underestimate you, don't correct them. Teach them to laugh, then teach them to bleed." No one laughed this time. On the edge of human space, inside a secret human command center, a woman in uniform watched the recording of the alien ambush. She smiled. "They took the bait," she said. An officer beside her asked, "Should we counterattack?" She shook her head. "Not yet. Let them believe they're winning. Let them read our old battles. Our old tactics. We wrote them for a reason." She turned to a screen showing dozens of alien war formations. "Let's see how long they can laugh before they realize they're reading from our defeat manuals." The alien fleet moved like a storm, fast, loud, and proud. 12 warships, shining with gold armor, flew toward a small human outpost near the edge of a red star. They expected fear, panic, maybe a desperate call for peace. Instead, they heard silence. No human message. No movement. Just 5 small defense ships orbiting the station. No sign of activity. No response. The alien commander smiled. They're frozen. Perfect. His officers began charging weapons, but something was off. One of them pointed at the human formation. Sir, it's wrong. They're not in a defense pattern. The commander shrugged. Doesn't matter. We outgunned them 10-1. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Then the firing began. Alien weapons blazed across space. The human ships were hit. 2 exploded instantly. The others spun out of control. Too easy, the alien commander whispered. But on the screen, a timer started. 30. Where is that coming from? One officer shouted. 27. Why is it counting down? 23. Suddenly, all alien ships froze, in place. Their engines locked. Lights flickered, systems rebooted. Then the human voice came. Calm, robotic, cold. Simulation complete. Enemy strategy recorded. Phase 2, now active. 1009. What simulation? The alien commander yelled. We destroyed them. But then, one of his officers found it. A small human pod, latched to their hull. It wasn't a bomb. It was a recorder. They hadn't been fighting humans. They had been watched, measured like animals in a test. 200-ohm blackout. 30 minutes later, in deep alien territory, an emergency council met. 5 ships. No weapons, no defense. But they gathered all our fleet data in under 1 minute? One elder shouted. Another screamed. They made us fire. They wanted it. The young general from before stepped forward. He placed an old human book on the table. War Games for the Outnumbered. He opened to a marked page. First, make them chase a ghost. Then record their speed, fire rate, and formation habits. Trade 1 ship to learn 10. Trade silence to hear everything. Silence fell across the room. The alien leader whispered, They don't fight like warriors. They fight like hunters. In human space, inside a large underground war room, human leaders watched alien footage. One officer grinned. They gave us everything. Range, power levels, command structure. Another added, we could take down half their fleet now. Maybe more. But the commander shook her head. No. Let them laugh. Let them strike again. Every hit they land only makes us smarter. She looked at the growing file on the screen. It was called Alien Defeat Playbook, Volume 2. Back on the alien flagship, the commander couldn't sleep. He rewatched the battle over and over. It made no sense. The humans had died without fear. Almost like they knew they were dying. Then, a private message came through. It was from an old enemy, someone who fought humans before. The message was only 5 words. You're not fighting soldiers, strategists. The commander turned pale. He looked around the bridge. All the data they had collected was fake. All the victories were traps. All the war manuals were already written by humans. The alien fleet was gone. 30 ships, full of weapons and elite troops, had vanished near a dead moon. No signal, no distress call, just silence. The alien high command called it a technical failure. But one captain knew better. He had studied the footage. Grainy, strange, incomplete. The last thing caught on a long-range camera was a human battleship, drifting in space. Lights off. Weapons offline. An old ship, rusted. One engine smoking. No threat at all. And yet, after that ship appeared, 30 warships disappeared. The captain flew out to investigate. 4 hours later, near the dead, Moon, the captain's ship, moved slowly toward the area where the fleet vanished. His crew was nervous. No one spoke. The radar was clean, too clean, no wreckage, no debris, nothing. Then, they saw it, the human ship. It floated just like in the footage. Same broken lights, same quiet hum. They scanned it. No life signs, No power, no weapons online. Sir, the sensor officer whispered. It's broadcasting a signal. The captain frowned. What kind of signal? The officer turned pale. A surrender message. Inside the alien ship, the message played again. We surrender, please approach, we are disabled. But it looped, perfectly. Again and again. The crew began sweating. Something felt wrong. Then, one of the engineers shouted, Sir, there's no heat signature from that ship. What do you mean? The captain asked. The engineer replied, Even a dead ship gives off heat. This one is cold, too cold. Suddenly, lights across the bridge flickered. Systems shut off. The ship stopped moving. Then came the sound. Not a voice, not a weapon, but a heartbeat. Slow, mechanical, echoing through their hull. Boom, boom, boom. The crew stared at each other. One whisper broke the silence. That ship isn't real. 3 minutes later, all screens turned white. Then, text appeared, written in the human language. Protocol activated, Ghost Fleet Phase 2. Data harvested. Movement logged. Panic level, acceptable. Now you see us. Then the human ship lit up and vanished, not through warp. It folded into itself, like it was never real to begin with. The alien ship came back online, just in time to record. One last thing. On their hull, someone or something had burned 4 words, You passed the test. Back at Alien Command. The captain returned, shaken and silent. He gave his report. The council didn't believe him. They called it a hallucination. A system glitch. But others started whispering. Stories spread fast. They called it the Ghost Fleet, a human trick, a phantom army. Ships that weren't real, weapons that didn't fire, but left entire fleets destroyed. The young general opened another human manual. On the last page, handwritten in red, were just 3 lines. The best war is fought without fighting. Make your enemy fear shadows, then send the shadows to teach. He stared at those words for a long time, because they all knew. This war was never about weapons, it was about control, and the humans were already in their heads. A team of elite alien soldiers landed on a human outpost. It was supposed to be an easy mission. Find survivors, take control, plant a flag. But when they touched the ground, everything felt wrong. There was no resistance, no noise, no humans. Just an abandoned base half buried in snow, its doors wide open. The commander gave a sharp order. Sweep the area, move fast. His soldiers split up, weapons ready. But every hallway looked untouched. Every door unlocked. Every light flickering like it hadn't been used in years. Then one soldier found a small room with maps. Dozens of alien war maps only pinned to the wall, on top of them written in thick black ink. Nice try. Here's what you should have done. 10 minutes later, a soldier opened a crate labeled food supplies. Inside was not food, but a pile of alien armor pieces, burned, torn, some still fresh with blood. The soldier dropped the lid and backed away in fear. Another team walked into a barracks room. Everything looked normal, until they noticed the screens. Each one was playing. A battle recording. Their battle. The one they just fought 2 days ago. But the footage was from the human side. Cameras had been watching them the entire time. They hadn't won a battle. They had performed for human eyes. Then the traps began. 1. Hallway collapsed. Walls folded inward, crushing 3 soldiers. Another squad walked across what looked like normal floor, until their feet sank an inch, and the ceiling dropped down with sharp, burning metal threads. No tech, no advanced mines, just smart, cruel, manual traps. Old school, simple, human style, and perfectly placed. The commander yelled, "Get out! Fall back to the ship!" But the exits were gone, the doors had sealed, the windows showed only static snow. And in the snow, shadows moved. In orbit, a second alien ship hovered above, watching from space. The officer on board tried to contact the ground team. No answer. Then, A message popped up on their screen from the human outpost. It said, "They are learning the hard way. So will you." And then, something shocking appeared. A copy of their own attack plan, line by line, time-stamped, uploaded from the base hours before they even landed. The humans had known everything and let them walk in. Back at Alien, command panic spread. How did humans predict this? They had no scouts there, no drones. They're always one step ahead. The young general read another section from the defeat manual. If your enemy fears the ground, they won't land. If they don't land, they can't conquer. Turn your ruins into weapons, your silence into screams. No one in the room could speak. A new fear was growing. Humans didn't just win wars. They designed every moment of it. They were teaching the galaxy. Lesson by bloody lesson. On the outpost only, one alien soldier survived. He crawled into a communication room and sent a final message. His voice shook. "They're not fighting us. They're breaking us. Every trap had our name on it. They knew us too well." He paused and then whispered, "We invaded their empty base, but they invaded our minds." The signal ended. The alien general sat alone in a dark chamber. His medals were gone. His command badge had been stripped. The War Council had silenced him, ordered him to stop speaking, ordered him to lie, but he couldn't. His voice shook as he opened a secure channel, one that reached every military leader in the Empire, unauthorized, dangerous, final. He looked into the camera and began. "This is not a war," he said. "This is a lesson." The room behind him was quiet. Too quiet. He took a shaky breath. "We thought we were hunting humans. We were wrong. They hunted us without firing, without chasing, without pride." He reached down and held up a single book. It was battered, covered in burns and blood. A human defeat manual, stolen from an outpost. He opened it and read aloud, "Do not aim for victory, aim for confusion. Win battles in their minds, and let them call it luck." The general stared into the lens. "Every loss we've had was by design. Their manuals didn't explain defeat. They created it. Ours." He paused, then whispered, "They let us win battles so we'd copy them." He stood up and walked to a wall. On it were maps, hundreds of them, every front line, every strike, every so-called victory. He pointed. "We thought we were the ones pushing forward, but every step was already drawn in this book." He circled. "A red zone. We just built their trap. For them." At Alien High Command alarms rang. Officers rushed to shut down the broadcast, but it was too late. Tens of thousands of military minds had seen it. Some refused to believe. Others began to panic. One senior officer growled, "This is human deception, lies." But then, one analyst stood up slowly. "I've seen it too," she said. "The human tactics, the outposts, even the failures. They're perfect patterns. They knew what we'd do before we did." On dozens of worlds, alien generals began to question everything. Why did so many human bases fall too easily? Why were human troops so quiet? Too quiet. Why were their defeat manuals spreading across the galaxy like wildfire? And one terrifying truth began to take shape. They weren't manuals. They were scripts, written for us. Back in human space, the human command room watched the alien general's speech. No one said a word. Then the lead strategist leaned back, smiled faintly, and tapped on the screen. "He's the first one to understand," another officer asked. "Should we respond?" The Boer strategist shook her head. "No need, they're starting to teach each other." She turned to a second screen showing dozens of alien generals reading the human manuals. Phase 3 has begun. Back on the alien general's broadcast, the general's final words echoed across star systems. "We are not losing this war. We already lost it the moment we laughed." The screen went black. The order was clear. Destroy every human war manual. Now. Across the galaxy, Alien leaders gave the command. Libraries were locked. Digital files were deleted. Soldiers piled books into fire pits on every world. Flames rose high, burning words that had terrified empires. But the damage was already done. In a military academy on planet Drose, young cadet watched pages turn to ash, but his eyes weren't on the fire. He was staring at his own datapad. Hidden inside was a full copy of Human Defeat Manual, Volume 3. He had read it 5 times. He understood it better than his own training. And deep down, he trusted it more. He wasn't the only one. Thousands of other cadets across the Empire had made copies, private backups, notes scratched onto walls, memory implants. The humans had written more than tactics. They had written truth. On the bridge of a command ship, an officer whispered to her captain, "Sir, I know it's forbidden, but I used the human manual during our last battle." The captain turned sharply. "What?" She looked down. "I used one of their bait tactics. I let our flank look weak. The enemy moved in and walked right into a trap." She handed him the report. It showed a perfect victory. The captain looked around. Everyone was watching, waiting. Finally, he nodded. "Send me a copy." Back at Alien High Command, the council was in chaos. Some screamed, "We must erase the knowledge." Others shouted, "It's too late. Our own generals are using it." Someone slammed their fist on the table. "This is war poison, thought warfare. They infected us without touching us." The youngest counselor stood up slowly and said one line that froze the room. "Then maybe they deserve to win." Meanwhile, in human space, the war room was calm. Leaders watched as chaos spread through alien systems. One officer smiled. "They're burning books while reading them in secret." Another said, "Their fleets are splitting. Their own commanders don't trust orders anymore." The lead strategist tapped the screen. A live feed showed alien troops reading human manuals in the dark, hiding from their own commanders. "They've begun studying our defeats to survive their own," she whispered. "The books are burning. But the ideas? The ideas are fireproof." Inside a mutinied ship, a young alien captain locked the doors of the bridge. He faced his stunned officers. "I'm done following blind orders. I've read the human manuals. I understand now." One officer shouted, "That's treason." "No," he said, "that's survival." He pressed a button. A human voice began to speak over the speakers. Calm, cold, teaching. Lesson 12. When your leaders fear knowledge, they fear losing control. That means you're close to the truth. Across the galaxy, something strange happened. Alien fleets started disappearing, not from defeat but from surrender, not to humans, to ideas. The Empire wasn't fighting humans anymore. It was fighting its own mind, and losing. A signal echoed through deep space, not from Earth, not from any human warship. It came from an empty star system, dead, cold, silent. The message played in every major alien command post at once. Just a voice, calm, human, unshaken. You thought this was about war, about ships, about weapons. It was never that simple. You never fought our armies. You fought our thinking. And now, your generals think like us. At Alien High Command, the last surviving council watched the message in horror. One of them whispered, "They've broken our chain of command." Another added, "We can't stop this. Even our own troops follow human playbooks now." Then came a second part of the message, this time with a simple graphic. A list of alien battle losses. Every defeat, every collapse, every act of mutiny, all predicted years ago in the Human Defeat Manual. Chapter 0. Final phase. Let them become you. On a warship. Orbiting the capital, the admiral gave the command, "Retreat." But no one obeyed. One officer turned. "Why retreat? The human manual Says this is where we hold the line. Another officer nodded. They've been right about everything else. The admiral looked around. No one was taking his orders anymore. Because now, they took orders from a book written by their enemy. In human territory, the Human War Council sat quietly. There were no cheers, no fireworks, just quiet reports. Alien. Fleets surrendering, leaders stepping down, military schools replacing old training with human theory. A young officer asked, "So, did we win?" The strategist didn't smile. She just tapped on a manual sitting in front of her. It was the first copy, the one that started it all. She opened to the last page. It was blank, except for one sentence. The true victory is when your enemy teaches your lessons to their children. Back in the alien core world, statues of old war heroes were taken down. Battle doctrines were rewritten. In schools, young cadets now learned something new. How to think before striking, how to lose a battle to win a war, how to read the mind of an opponent, all based on human teachings. The humans never needed to rule them. They already had. Final transmission from Earth. A signal was sent to the galaxy. Just audio. Just truth. We didn't come to dominate. We didn't come to burn planets. We came to remind you that the mind is the sharpest weapon. Laugh if you want. Underestimate us. But when the smoke clears, you'll realize you were always playing by our rules.